Everyone, this is the Vermi Max that I took the top contents out and put in Mammoth Two. This is one of the earlier Maxes, and it's actually a bigger system. The early Maxes were much deeper than the current Max. But I'm going to finish taking out the contents of this. I scooped out about the top foot, I suppose, of contents in here and put into the Mammoth. But I still have a good, 12 inches easily on the bottom, because it's right there at the seam. It's right here, the level is at the seam, and that's about 12 inches of depth. It's at an angle, but there's still a fair amount of compost here. And it's just easier, since I'm not going to restart the system, I'm going to get rid of this bag. It's just easier for me to go ahead and just dig it out from the top. But I just want to show you on a working system, if you let it get to the proper height, basically, let's see how many worms are left in this compost, basically the bottom foot. I mean, out of the top foot, I took thousands of, there were a lot of worms in here. So I put all those into the, like I said, the Mammoth Two. So I'm just going to scoop this out and then use my little sifter here, and when we get done we'll see, about how many worms are in there. Okay, I'm just going to pull the contents of that Vermi Max out, one little container like this at a time. So there's probably about 20 of these at least in there. So consistency seems pretty good, so I think it'll sift pretty decent. So it really doesn't take that long. I mean, I do this all the time. The secret to, having as few worms as possible in the bottom of these systems is making sure that, one, you leave it enough time that the bottom will be well processed, and two, that you have enough depth on the system. If you try pulling the castings out and you don't have very much depth in the system, even if you left it for 4 months, 5 months, you're still going to get a lot of worms in the bottom, because it's just not deep enough to get the worms to separate. You can see there's a half a dozen worms there, I suppose. There's not very many. Try and break all the clumps up. And this is a sifter I made. It just has an 1/8 inch screen on the bottom. There's a lot of different options. If you can find something like this where these stack, 2 of these would stack on top of one of these white ones, and they're grooved, so they actually stay right within them. So I don't know if you have anything like that at Home Depot or Lowe's. If you can find something like that, then just cut the bottom out of one and put a screen in it. They work real nice. I saw somebody on YouTube that built a wooden one that slides like this. That'd be pretty nice too. I think he had wheels or something on it, but that would slide real nicely. This plastic is really nice. This plastic slides very well on plastic. I just break the clumps up just a little bit more if I can. See, now I'm down at the very bottom. This was the original newspaper that was lining the bottom of this Vermi Max. This was a drawstring type, an early drawstring system and stuff, so I put a little bit thicker paper on it. But so the very kind of interesting, the very bottom inch of this material is not finished very well composted. I see a little bit of pieces of newspaper and stuff in there still. Okay, I finished separating this out, so that's just the bottom 12, 13 inches of that Vermi Max. And there's basically 60 pounds of finished compost, sifted compost, and 20 pounds of compost that I will throw back into the bin This has all the worms in it. And if you look through this, I mean, it's just, there's worms in here definitely, but not very many. Every once in a while I hit a pocket when I was going down through there that had a fair amount of worms in it. But, you know, it's real simple to sift it this way, so I don't mind these worms. This is, you know, a huge percentage of those worms that were in there are right in this tub right here, and I'm going to throw them right back in the bin. Now I have 60 pounds of compost over here that's just beautiful stuff. So getting 60 pounds of compost for this a little bit of 20 pounds that I'm going to throw back in the bin, I think it's a pretty good deal. The vermi-bags work real well, like I said, as long as you keep the system full enough and give it enough time, you're not going to have too many worms in the bottom section. There might be some I found on a few of the systems right at the very, very bottom, especially the zippered system, I think, because there's more oxygen coming in. But once you get past that first quarter, half an inch or so of compost, they're pretty good. There's not that many worms beyond that. So you still need to do a little bit of sifting and stuff, but you'll get a vast majority of the worms out of it by keeping the system full. And now, also you need to make sure you monitor the moisture content on this stuff. The vermi-bags are designed to leak out the bottom if you get them too wet. They're not supposed to hold water. I mean, I actually punch extra holes in there to make sure they do leak. And that's a good indicator that the system's too wet. It's hard to sift mud. So if you see leachate coming out of the bottom of your vermi-bag, you need to cut back on the amount of moisture on it. It'll dry up, you know, over time, but if you got leachate coming out of there, you're going to have a really, really muddy section, or at least wet on the bottom, and it's going to be very difficult to try and do this sifting method on it. So anyway, so a harvest on this Vermi Max, old one. I'm going to retire it now. And basically in that bottom, just that bottom section right there, I got basically 60 pounds of finished castings. And then the pile I'm going to throw back in. I'm going to actually throw this into the Mammoth Two. So this is Tom from VermiBag. Till next time, ciao.